Welcome everybody to the GSC Winter Seasonal Losers Finals. We got Teclis in the left corner and Conflict in the right corner. Two strong players. Conflict, the SPL player, didn't come home with the trophy, but it was near close. Near close. He was really close to it. And then Teclis, on the other hand, being sent from winners finals. So two players having made it very far. If we go back and look at the game, Conflict is kind of known for his offense. With sometimes, occasionally, you'd see an SPL that he has like offense with a bit of a twist. Maybe he'll bring two normal resists, like I don't know, on an offense team, or he'll bring like two normals or something like that. On the other hand, if you go and you have a look at Teclis's game, something more close to a standard, closer to a standard structure. But I suggest that if you haven't seen the games already, to have a look. I covered those topics as well, and I'd say that we just get right into it because I'm a bit late as it is, yeah. Without further ado, I'd say we just get into the game. So cue the different music, and here we are. So we have a Lax lead versus Eggy. Conflict with the Eggy decides to go for a thief. And he manages to get a thief on what is likely to be a Sleep Talk Raikou, because usually you're going to want to switch in a Sleep Talker. The issue being that if you switch in something like Zapdos or Raikou, which typically are Sleep Talkers on teams, they're also really good boom targets, which is one of the reasons why Exeggutor is so good. Also, Raikou has a bit of a hard time dealing with Eggy, so I'm sure Teclis at this point really would have wanted the sleep powder, but Conflict is not going to give that to him. So it's Hidden Power Ice. Takes some... So Conflict with the Exeggutor is going to stay in, and he much rather wants to get the Raikou to a position where it's forced to rest, regardless of whether or not it's Sleep Talk. So yeah, he's gonna... So, interestingly enough, maybe because he was expecting a switch in here to like Lax, the Teclis's Raikou goes for T-Bolt, so Conflict uses Giga Drain, perhaps predicting a normal resist switch in. Yeah, it's still a bit early to go for a boom, I suppose. Like, it would really... I mean, it's never too early, but it's called for, so... Conflict going the Snorlax and then doubling to a Nido, perhaps to catch the Skarmory. But that also invites Fori in. He's going to light his spikes, as long as he doesn't get crit by Zapdos here. So... Conflict having a bit of an edge. He's going to go to Raikou. Good call. Teclis is going to go to Raikou is what I meant to say. So this essentially gives him an advantage against Cloyster, but Conflict doesn't take the bait. So he's just going to go to Lax, and he's going to wait for a different moment to probably lay his spikes. Which means that for the time being, Teclis seems to be in a pretty good position. So he's going to go to this Suicune here, perhaps just to scout some moves. Yeah, never too safe. You're never too safe against Nidoking either, so that makes sense. Suicune is also a pretty decent soft check, and that's when Conflict finds the right opportunity to bring in his Fori. He's going to lay the spikes and roll them. Teclis's Golem has a... Wow, surprise Fire Blast. So it OHKOs the Fori. just barely outspeeds it too. So he manages to KO the 4E, and in the following turns, there's probably going to be a window of opportunity, given, given of course the presence of Snorlax, to spin away those spikes. And he's sitting quite comfortably right now. Teclis is in a good spot, despite the Exeggutor. So Conflict definitely still has the ability to control the situation. Here comes the obligatory Skarmory, taking a Psychic. Not so sure about the Giga Drain there, but any health recovery is good. I mean, on the other hand, Hollow Shadow doesn't. Hollow Shadow, aka Teclis, doesn't have much that he can switch into against that Exeggutor, so there's that. There is a Charm Umbreon. I don't think it's Pursuit. This could make... The Charm could actually make this Skarmory less of a threat to the Eggy. But so far, it's looking quite decent here. So Nido goes for the EQ, probably to catch... I don't know. I think that in this position... with two spinners and also a very healthy Lax, he preferred to go for the EQ. Obviously he could have gone for Thunder, and then try his hand at a speed tie, but it's still at winning a speed tie and then KOing the Suicune. But that doesn't necessarily make it worth the while. I think Conflict is pretty much concerned about defending his spikes. So if he can catch Golem against a too eager player, then yeah, he could probably cement his position. Pardon the music change. I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to loop the song, but I forgot to. So I'm going to go back. And... okay... Now, at this point, yeah, Conflict is going to want to apply pressure with his Zapdos. As long as he has Eggy or something else, and he'll be in a pretty good spot. So he makes a really good call out, doubling to the Eggy. Also forcing the Skarmory. There isn't much that Teclis can do against the Eggy, but sort of force it out. Teclis is going to be very conservative. Okay. Teclis is going to be very conservative, though. He doesn't want to reveal any moves just yet, because as long as he doesn't reveal whether he has Toxic or Drill Peck, then, you know, and just as I say that, well, until he does that, Conflict is going to have to, you know, pivot around it very, very carefully. Of course, if he has Drill Peck, then he can deal more damage to Nidoking and Exeggutor. If he has Toxic, then he has to worry about his Umbreon and Zapdos. So, yeah. Pick your poison. Mean look there. Interesting. Interesting play. So, okay, goes for the nice Nido double, I guess. Yeah, so Conflict making some really interesting doubles, but he's still in a pretty tough spot. Considering the Raiku's Sleep Talk, it's not conceding too much momentum, and Conflict also has to pivot around the Sleep Talk rolls, so he's got to be very careful here about keeping his Lax healthy. Given the Fire Blast Golem, this might not even be a Rapid Spin user. Like, it could very much be freaking Curse and something else, like, and he just has one spinner. But we have to see. So, given that the Nidoking used up its Lovely Kiss, and while the 4E, if it could find itself just one opportunity to stay in on the Nido without having to take an EQ, then well, Teclis would be in a good spot to spin. So that's something to keep a heads up for. And we see Lovely Kiss Lax on a team with no Pursuiter, so it might have another move as well. Double Edge. I don't think it would have Curse, we can start making assumptions as to what set of Snorlax it is. One way or another, he's forced to rest here, pretty much. So he goes for the safe call. Despite the paralysis, there's no full para. Conflict's going to bring in his own Lax, and then he's going to double to Nidoking. Doesn't cost him too much, but not having a normal resist is going to be very tricky for Conflict in this case. Like I said, offense with a twist. Now the Zapdos pretty much has to rest, and we don't know if this Lax has like belly drum or something. So Conflict is probably in a really tough spot right now. Luckily though, through the sleep roll and everything, he manages to get a para on the Lax. That can be helpful, but he also has only one. He has to go through one turn of sleep to actually get the rest. But instead, he's gonna choose to force the opposing Lax to sleep, so as to maybe give Zapdos another shot at life. But he also doesn't want to concede the momentum, so he's gonna continue to apply pressure with his own Lax. He doesn't reveal a curse move. Maybe he doesn't want to lose a speed tie, so he manages to KO the Lax and win the speed tie on the perfect turn here. So his Lax is still alive. Yeah, that's so that was played excellently, but it also means that his Lax is in a really tough spot right now. He's not gonna be able to spin those spikes away, sadly. Suicune not only comes in all day on Nido, but pretty much threatens the rest of the team in this position here, especially with Toxic. Could be a good time to boom or use Giga Drain. Okay. And even a Surf would KO a Zapdos on the switch here. But just as I say that, Conflict is getting all of his HP back with Giga Drain. And it seems like Lady Luck was on his side as far as sleep talk rolls were concerned. Teclis couldn't seem to get a break here. But Zapdos getting ever weaker with nothing to threat but Raikou. So he's going to take the opportunity to bring in the Raikou. Conflict getting a really unlucky sleep talk roll once again. But at least the next turn is guaranteed to be a rest if he gets the opportunity to come back in. So the Eggy booms, and I think I was a little bit behind in the commentary there. I'm just gonna mention that so Raikou, yeah, he's gonna switch to a pretty much healthy Egg. Teclis even gets the Hidden Power Ice, so yeah. So he obviously is just gonna switch to Skarm. Snorlax pretty weakened at this point, so it doesn't look like the Skarmory is like a throwaway. It can definitely take a boom without too much concern. So the spikes looks like they're going to be there to stay, so that's at least one piece of good news for Conflict, but it's really, yeah, he's on a tightrope here, so Lax dies, but Zapdos comes in now, can use Rest, or he can go for Thunder. I would probably go for, oh wow, dang, okay. But he dodges the Thunder. Okay, so, Teclis sacking the Skarm at this point, not needing it necessarily anymore for the Lax, and not feeling particularly threatened by the Umbreon, who is asleep. So leaving him with the opportunity to rest off his Raikou, but I think at this point Conflict is going to bring in his Nidoking. Good call, Cherry, good call. So he goes for an HP Ice and calls out the switch in, and at this point it's a bit risky. He can't quite safely rest. Maybe he could have rested, but crit would have been the end of the game. So so the Suicune manages to KO the Nido. Really well played. I really liked all the back and forth, nobody giving up. This was actually superb as a game. I love it. Neither of these players have let me down so far. This was fun. Mm. And the game isn't even over. So, just as I was taking a sip of alloy, Zapdos managed to kill the golem, meaning no boom. So that is definitely something. At this point, Raikou going to have to get past the Umbreon. And if Conflict's Umbreon had woken up in time, then he would have been able to meme look, but to what end with only a Zapdos? I don't know. Yeah, this game looks pretty much sealed. And yeah, that was an excellent game one. So, brief mention, there was a second game, and both players had forgotten to upload the replay. So, in game 2, all I know is that Conflict won. I'm sorry about that. So that means that we're just going to skip right on to game 3. At this point, both players have one game on their back and their tournament life is entirely on the line. Their chance at making the grand finals and coming home with a trophy being on the line as well. Neither of these two players, having come up to this point, want to lose. So let's see what is up next. So we have a bunch of teams that either were ripped from McMegan or I don't know, but it seems like Teclis is continuing to use names which are clearly references to McMegan's teams, as you might have seen also in the previous replay. So that could be an indicator as to what the play style is, but unfortunately I don't know how to describe McMegan's GSC playstyle, so, or at least not to distinguish it from others. So if we just go on with the game. So game 1, we have Conflict going for a double edge on the Zapdos instead of possibly a curse. I mean, a good call in any case. They also, Teclis on the other end, also going for some damage here. Perhaps for a scout, perhaps to see if it's curse. He's going to bring in his Cloyster, Crustabri, and I don't know, maybe Conflict has Lovely Kiss? I don't know, maybe he wanted to go for a double edge to catch the Cloyster. That's also a possibility on turn 1. Essentially, if he does that, then there could be a possibility that he goes for like a Thunder, catches the Cloy, kills it, and then he could just spin it off with a Golem. But that's just spitballing. We're just going to continue to look at the game and see what happens. I would imagine that the Cloyster either goes for Spikes or Toxic. He's going to go for the Spikes, as the Snorlax didn't really spin or anything, and I mean didn't curse. So yeah, Zapdos getting some momentum here, gets an HP Ice on the Golem switch in. So yeah, that's rough, because now the Golem really doesn't have a chance to spin against Zapdos. Gengar comes in, so looking like a boom offense team. Yeah, so I would imagine that he has another Mon to threaten, not just to threaten Zapdos with offensively, but to check it, or he just makes use of the boom to like clear the way for something like Machamp. Could be too soon to call. So Hypnosis Gengar. The fact that the switch in for Gengar was Snorlax would tell me that it's not, that it's probably a Sleep Talk set. Yeah, and there's no Pursuiter. Could be EQ. Reflect Zapdos. Whoa. Conflict coming in with the Tex. T-Bolt Reflect. That's pretty cool. So T-Bolt Reflect makes me think that even his lacks his Sleep Talk. Considering how weak it is to Jinx, I would imagine there being a flamethrower here. And yeah, it's still too soon to tell what's in the back. I wouldn't even know if it would be a champ in the back. So actually, we do see a Tyranitar. So there was a Sleep Talk Lax on Teclis' end, but it's probably it could not be mono Curse Lax, but I would imagine that it is, given the Tyranitar. There's always a possibility for it to be EQ anyway, and that this is like a mixed T-Tar set. So what is he gonna go for? I guess we won't know because of the full para. Okay, so EQ on the Golem. At least he defended his spikes, unless this is like Rapid Spin Cloister. I highly doubt it. Yeah, so Toxic, but the Toxic misses. Man, lots of unfortunate events for Conflict. I am not gonna lie here. He goes for the Boom. Gengar looking like he's in a pretty decent spot to wall the Lax, but Conflict is still gonna test the waters and see whether or not there actually is an EQ. And just, man, I'm so glad. I don't remember if I made the call out earlier, but I mentioned how Conflict used 2 normals. The idea being that one normal serves to actually catch the normal resists and like KO them, and then the other one sweeps. So this looking like a Curse Pori. I remember in SPL he used Ursaring. Well, he wanted to, but he had already won by the time by how excellently he used his own Lax. So the interesting thing about Porygon is it can force Lax into some weird situations and never have to sacrifice momentum because of the immediate recovery access to that he has with Recover. So this is looking really interesting here. Yeah, it could have T-Wave considering how he hasn't used a Curse yet. Curse also means he will be outsped by the Snorlax, so you have to keep that in mind as well. So he wouldn't Curse until the Snorlax is forced to rest here, and now we see the Curse. So there it is. Another move could be an Ice Beam or T-Wave, depending on what, maybe even Thunder, depending on what it is he'd like to hit. So we see finally the secondary normal immunity or resist, and it's Gengar. So he brings his Ectoplasma in, and he immediately pivots to Machamp, who outspeeds at this point the Pori. That was an excellent pivot. Jesus. Gets the crit cross chop on Zapdos, dealing a hefty amount of damage. Considering it's not rest, that's actually going to count for something. So we have noticed that it's Sleep Talk EQ, so that's also something to keep in mind. But Conflict has come prepared. He has a Curse Pori, but the Gengar is going to be a very tough mon to handle. Pori being particularly specially bulky, but he also doesn't want to get fully paralyzed by the Zapdos. So yeah, I think it's a safe call to just keep the Gengar healthy and fish for a paralysis with the Thunder, at least until Conflict is put in a position where he can attack. He might attack here, gets a +2 return. It's in range for another hit, but the Pori is going to have to recover again. I mean, I suppose that's what Conflict would want, but I don't know. The Pori gets fully parried, but Teclis misses again. I'm at the edge of my seat at this point. Ice Beam, just in case the Gengar were to come in. And the fun aspect about that is that it still deals a hefty amount to Zapdos. Could even freeze. And just look at how excellently Porygon can take on Zapdos here. Yeah, manages to finally clear that out. But of course, now there's the other beast in the room to deal with. And yeah, I guess at this point he just preferred to sack the Pori. It's done. He's gonna have to improvise a way to defeat the Lax. As long as he can boom on it, zap, and get rid of the Gengar, Zapdos should be in a good spot. So should Snorlax, depending on whatever set that is. So yeah, Whirlwind Zapdos, really cool. Are we gonna see a T-Wave? No, he goes for T-Bolt. Doesn't get a. Okay, so now Gengar is in a really good spot. He's gonna switch to his own Gengar. This is really interesting. Okay, yeah. So Teclis wants to keep his Gengar alive. Conflict wants to keep the rest of his team alive. So the only thing he can use is like that Gengar interaction is really fun because of how it's so awkward to switch into anything, but you also don't want to lose your last Lax check, which you can use to either threaten Zapdos or boom on Snorlax with. So yeah, or just sit on it if it's normal. So yeah, every call I've made so far was on point. I'm pretty proud of myself here. Lax coming in on Lax, so we're gonna see some true GSC action, I guess. We still don't know what set this Snorlax is. We see a Sleep Talk, but unfortunately no dice. So no double edge. If he gets a double edge here, no, Flamethrower. Yeah, like I said, it was kind of Jinx weak, so it was Flamethrower. But that's really not fun against Gengar or Machamp. So Conflict with I don't know what courage is staying in on a Machamp that is staring it down and just daring him to switch to Zapdos. So he's not going for the bait. He stays in with his Lax. If he could take out, so now even if the Machamp dies, the Zapdos is in a position to KO the Machamp. But it would also mean having to deal with. Okay, so Gengar survives the Rock Slide. But Gengar can't die. He gets the explosion on the Lax. Oh my god. Oh my god, this is brutal. Okay, this game is ridiculous. This game is ridiculous. He gets the double edge, KOs the Lax. But no way to KO the Gengar. The Gengar outspeeds the Zapdos with Ice Punch. I'm pretty sure this is... Wait, what's Conflict saying in the chat? So he says, Gengar Explosion versus Lax. He probably needed a better roll than what he got to actually defeat the Snorlax. But I don't know if that meant he would have defeated it. They're both complimenting each other for how they played. Yeah. So, wow. That was something. Ladies and gentlemen, I had Conflict favored to win this, but Teclis showing up here. Really good game. I loved it. That was fun. That was definitely something different from what I saw when he faced Podges in the winners finals. Conflict going home with a respectable third place in the GSC Winners Seasonal, and Teclis moving on to Grand Finals with his chance to get his revenge against this demon of Podges. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, and before I leave, do make sure to subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. I promise to provide more GSC content, including underused content in the near future once the UUFPL season has finished. So I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, GG's, and I love you.